So, as I was saying, the first step is to put in the zipper. And we start by serging the two sides that are going to make the zipper. We serge them individually. So there's just one layer here. This is a 9-inch zipper. I'm using black because the background of the fabric is black. It's your skirt. Use whatever color you want that matches your fabric. You could match, you could not match, it depends on your aesthetic. So, this is a 9-inch zipper. I prefer the 9-inch to the 7-inch because I like to have a little bit more opening in the hip area because I'm wide hipped. So I like to have a little extra leeway to get that in there. So, that's what I got to say about that. All right, 9-inch zipper. Time to put it in. Unzip the zipper. Take the side of the fabric. Oh, by the way, this is a centered zipper. It's not an invisible zipper, and I'm not doing a lap zipper either. This is centered. So line up the top of the zipper here with the top of the fabric. And this, by the way, is a zipper foot. All right. So I've got the non-teeth edge of the zipper lined up to the edge of the fabric, making sure that the outside of the zipper is towards the outside of the fabric. Get here, zip the zipper back up, and stitch all the way down past the zipper stop. Okay, it will look like that. And then with the other side, use a pin if you like, but I don't always, to make sure that the top lines up with the top. Sometimes what I like to do is just stitch it in place. So that's what I'm going to do here. Alright, so now that the top is secured in place where it belongs, I hold the zipper up to the other piece of fabric, hold it where it lines up, and put that under the zipper foot, and start stitching. And make sure that I ease it in nicely, because you don't want any puckers, because that would just look stupid. Or I guess I would say that makes you look like an unprofessional. I don't want to tell you what to do with your skirt. If you like puckers, you like puckers. But I don't. That's what I got to say about that. So I make sure that I ease it in nicely. And then when we get to the top, I unzip it a little bit so that I'm not trying to sew over the zipper pull. Okay. All right. It looks like this so far. All right. What we do after that is stitch this part closed, the part below the zipper. And for this, I'm going to switch the foot to the other side. To make sure that I get nice up in there. Starting just above where the zipper stop is, and put your stitch down. Hold your fabric tight. Do the back stitch. And there we go. And finish that seam with, whatever seam allowance you gave yourself. Trim off any long threads that you don't need. I don't like them getting stuck in stuff. So we cut them off. Alright. And this is what it looks like so far. So at this point, I like to press. So we're going to do that. I start by pressing this seam open. And then I flip it over. And I like to hold these edges together and press them flat. Yes, it is okay to press a zipper. All right, so now that this is nice and flat, give it a moment to cool down. Unplug your iron when it's not in use. Start with the zipper pull slightly undone. Start at side. And hold your fabric so that it just covers the zipper teeth. Pull the threads out of the way. And at this point, I like to move the zipper pull back to the top because I actually prefer to sew most of this with the zipper closed, because then it's much easier for me to line up the fabric to where the other side of the fabric is. Alright, and here we have come, right here is the bottom of the zipper. So I will put the needle into the fabric, pivot to the side. Do not stitch into the zipper stop. You will break your needle. It will hurt. Stitch just below it. 4 or 5 stitches, whatever it takes to get to approximately the right number, the correct distance from seam. I need like one more stitch, so I'm just gonna slide it sideways, put it down right there, and stitch back up the other side. And oh, by the way, in case you're curious, I'm actually lining up the foot to the edge of the teeth. Now I have to move the zipper pull back down a little bit so that I can stitch the end. And there we have a centered zipper. Yeah. Change back to the regular foot. You can use pins if you want to, absolutely. I generally don't, because I have an industry background. We, in industry, don't use pins unless we absolutely can't get around it. And in fact, if you're working with vinyl, you do not want to use pins. And that is how long have I been sewing with no bobbin? I'll spare you the boredom of watching me serge every seam because they're all done exactly the same way. I have gone ahead and interfaced the waistband, and as well I have pressed all of the seams on the main body. So I'm going to fold the waistband in half and stitch. And it'll look like that. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm working with a sort of medium lightweight fabric that has a little bit of a softness to it, which is why I need the interfacing. If you are working with a more medium heavy fabric, you might not need the interfacing, especially if it doesn't have any stretch to it. So now we're going to turn it right side out, and I have basically any implement that has a point but isn't terribly sharp is good for pushing this out. So this is a wooden dowel that came with a tube turner set. I have also used screwdriver for this. Just if you do that, make sure that your screwdriver is clean and not too sharp. All right, so we have this, and I'm going to press this flat. Press it like that. All right, that's what I'm going to do next. This time I am getting out the pins because I am a perfectionist. I'm going to pin the waistband, believe it or not, to the inside. And the reason for this is that when I go to do the top stitching will be on the outside. Convenience. Right, I have pinned the waistband on, and now I am going to sew it into place. You will need to ease a little bit in order to get everything to sit down and look nice. That's pretty normal with sewing. For sewing pretty much anything, easing is pretty normal. Make sure that you have overhang, but only on one side. This seam in particular does not need to be serged because it is going to be completely encased. I have gone ahead and pinned and pressed the waistband, and now we are going to stitch it down, which doubles as a top stitch. The top stitching makes this a somewhat more casual skirt, whereas if you wanted something that was very businessy, professional, I suppose, then you would probably want to do this in the opposite direction and stitch it to the outside first, and then hand sew it to the inside so that there is no visible stitching on the outside. But I like to do it this way. That's what I got to say about that. Now it is time to pin up the hem. Now, I said that I put a 1-inch hem on here, so I am going to use my hem gauge to mark 1 inch and pin. I have a funny story about the hem gauge. When I was in high school, I took a class called fashion design, thinking that I would be learning how to design clothes. Yeah, it was just a glorified sewing class. And anyways, so I had always just called this a ruler, because that's what my mom called it. All right, so the one time I asked the teacher, hey, do you have a ruler? And she handed me this like big 12-inch old school wooden ruler. And I said, oh, okay. And then I said, do you have a smaller one, like for doing hems? She wasn't a very nice teacher, by the way. So asking for stuff, that was hard, all right? She was a grump. In any case, I asked for a smaller one for doing hems. She said, oh, you mean a hem gauge? So, now I know that this is called a hem gauge. But if you ask me for a little ruler, this is probably what I'll give you. And finally, we are on to the hems. This is the way that I like to do them, where I line up this folded edge to one of the marking lines, or the seam allowance lines, I guess, on seam gauge, maybe? Yeah, well, I like to line up the folded edge to one of those, and then stitch around so that my stitching on the outside is even if my hem on the inside isn't quite even. You'll see on the original blue skirt from the beginning of the video that this closure is a button and the tab goes on the outside. But on this one, I'm going to use a hook and eye, and I'm going to put the tab on the inside. You can make your skirt either way. This is a great opportunity to use a button that you just have one of. Or if you don't like the look of a button, a hook and eye is invisible because it's on the inside. You may choose what you like. If you can sew on a button, you can sew on a hook and eye. Concept is pretty similar. Why is there this little bit of gap here? It's because we need some ease, a little bit of ease in there, so that when I bend over, I don't like pop my button or break my zipper or anything. That's what that's for. Oh yeah. So, as you can see here, we have the hook and eye zipper, the hook and eye closure, and the zipper. Oh, gotta zip that up because in public. So,